We as Indians save too much.
I think one should always live frugally.
I think we need to rebrand the word frugal.
अच्छा hate मिलेगा.
At this point where you just start earning, you've not really spent the money on the other experience to even figure whether you like it or not. What essentially are you then saving for?
No, you don't deserve it.
Earn it.
A lot of people mistake that investments is going to be something which will really change their life.
I earn like 100 rupees and I save up like 50 rupees. 50 rupees goes in expenses and all that. Now I get married. So how do you get the partner on board? Or
You do it before the marriage.
in arranged marriage?
Hopefully you still talk about it.
Blind marriage थोड़ी होता है.
Thank you so much everyone for joining in. So today, of course, as you can see, our setup is new. We are trying something new. The concept is this. Over the last 3 years that we've been making videos on the Windwell channel, there have been some very heated debates in the comment section on a few topics, right? And we thought, why not bring those fights to not the big screen, the smaller screen, but with you gentlemen. So we welcome to you all to Wind the Divide. And who better than these 4 gentlemen to discuss on these topics?
Deepak Shenoy, Sanjay Kathuria, Jasnoor Gill, and of course, our very own Ajinkya Kulkarni. During the debate, our panelists will get 1 minute each to make their opening statements, followed by 10 minutes for rebuttal and discussion, before we open the floor to the audience for questions.
The first topic which we are going to take care of is whether saving earlier and maybe living a more frugal life in the beginning, in the 20s, is a better way to achieve financial independence or earn more money, or spend a bit and save later in your 30s is a better way. I would first ask you guys on which direction are you all leaning towards?
Save later is just as good.
Save earlier.
Save early.
Invest a bit later. It's okay.
So I think what
Then we'll
what
switch
we'll do
sides.
is we'll just ask you guys to switch over and we'll begin. Let's start with opening statements.
So I think from my side, it's essentially a compounding thing end of the day, right? It's very hard to suddenly get to a certain age and be like, now I need to start saving 30% of my paycheck or 20% of my paycheck or whatever. Plus the fact that when you look at retirement calculators, the further along you are, the scarier it is because the bigger the end number looks like and the monthly number that you need to save.
A lot of people mistake that investments is going to be something which will really change their life. But they have to realize that passive income is a factor of active income. So passive income तब ज़्यादा होगा जब active income ज़्यादा होगा, right? The input for passive income is active income. So I think initial part of your life, the focus should be on heavily improving your active income through gathering skills. The other buckets which you should fill would be the bucket of your emergency fund, your insurances, because in India you don't have a social security system. The day your salary is gone, the taxes which you had paid actually have gone down the drain. You will not get any benefit from the government for that, as in the other countries we have.
I think I'll agree with what he said about, specifically about investing in yourself. Because in the early days of your career, investing in yourself has a very highly compounded return. Simply because let's even take the average. If a person says, well, for a certain skill set, I'll pay you 3 lakhs per year of experience. That means for the first year, you'll make 3 lakhs a year. For the next year, you'll make 6 lakhs. The next year, you'll make 9 lakhs and so on. So the amount of money you might end up saving in as a percentage of the 3 lakhs or 6 lakhs may be relatively small. But if you invest or take that money and build yourself a skill, learn some code, learn something else, it might actually add more zeros. Instead of 3 lakhs going to 6 lakhs, you can go to 3 lakhs going to 7 lakhs. That extra 1 lakh return on the 60,000 rupees that you spent on yourself is 150% return, which no investment will be able to give you.
I think saving is important. In early, whether you invest or not is not important, or how much return you make on that investment hardly matters. But saving early is very important, in my opinion, because saving is a psychological habit, right? And you get used to certain lifestyle, and it keeps on increasing. It never decreases. Ideally, it can remain stagnant, but that also doesn't happen. So if you inflate your lifestyle early, you're always going to save much less percentage. So what you do with that, probably you can donate that money, I'm fine. Like, rather than doing a SIP of, let's say, 500 rupees, even if you donate that money, it wouldn't make difference when you achieve financial freedom, that 500 rupees. But you should not spend that money, is fundamentally better.
And before we move on to actually rebutting the points, one thing which I would love to know from all of you, we've talked about upskilling and spending on yourself. What spending on yourself means to a lot of people might mean to also splurge a little bit in your 20s.
I think spending a lot on yourself is useful. We as Indians save too much in general. Speaking as an investor also, that if we saved a little bit less and spent a little bit more, we would earn a lot more on whatever little money we saved, because the economy will benefit a lot more by your spending than it will by your saving. You could go overboard with this phenomenon. But I think we live too much on the other side where we're trying to be too frugal.
I think one should always live frugally. I imagine myself probably staying in Taj.
अच्छा hate मिलेगा.
No. I mean, decreasing your lifestyle is very tough. Mentally, very, very challenging. Keeping it constant, still difficult, but increasing is very easy, right? I'll actually tell you a real example. Friend makes about 60 lakh and finds it hard to even do a 50,000 SIP. But since getting out of college, he has been partying, and one day his wife came to me and saying, "You run something in finance, I don't really understand." But make him understand, like, but my friend has gotten enjoyed to this whole lifestyle of, spending, and like his experiences are also exotic, going abroad, and it's very difficult for him to notch it down. Then I forced him, saying ki you should do something. Then he started doing 50,000, then 75,000, and then he was like, "Yaar, my life, मेरा enjoyment ही खत्म हो गया. Like I don't like मैं वो financial independent होके करूँगा क्या? Because मैं आज ही enjoy नहीं कर रहा हूँ." And this is the same guy who in college was okay having a 40 rupees meal with me, right? So once you inflate lifestyle, it's very difficult to get down, right?
I think we need to rebrand the word frugal. When you call something frugal, people immediately jump to Maggie. That's the problem, typically, right? It doesn't mean living hand to mouth, right? And not having or walking everywhere and not being able to take an Uber, for example, right? But it means having or being conscious of where you spend and making sure you get in the habit of saving. I think that is the most important part. One thing I have always believed in, luckily, someone beat it into my head when I had like 2-3 years of work ex once upon a time, was pay yourself first. What that means is first of the month, figure out some money you want to save. Everyone who thinks I will spend whatever, I will save whatever is left in the end of the month, that never happens, because you will end up one more Swiggy, third drink, whatever, which is fine. But take out something. Get used to putting aside something on the starting of the month itself, right? Which is your saving habit, essentially. No one disagrees with, I think, investing in oneself. That's, you can't disagree with that. Right? It's one of those, like, I don't even see how anyone could frame that argument there.
So I think there, just one question I would have is that you, at this point where you just started earning, you've not really spent the money on the other experience to even figure whether you like it or not, right? So then the question, just playing devil's advocate here, what essentially are you then saving for? Maybe, as you said, that's the time where you want to enjoy these kind of things, your body may allow you to do so, etc., etc. Then what are you saving for?
See, the answer.
Yeah, it's not in the same month.
No, you don't deserve it.
Earn it.
Earn it
Earn it.
first. Like, if you, let's say if your salary is 25,000, you shouldn't be having those experiences. You first get your salary to 50,000, 60,000, 1 lakh, and then spend something on 5 lakh. You don't deserve it, very plainly, simply.
See,
right?
other thing which I believe is that people, and especially we'll ask kids here, there are a lot of people sitting here, how many of you are budgeting? Do you have your monthly budgets with you? Do you know where your money is going? I'm telling you, everybody sitting here, if they check their UPI, they will be ashamed. Oh my God, I spent this much on UPI.
Here is where it's interesting, but I feel there's a slightly different approach to this. I think the problem is, if you're in that line where you're living borderline and then you feel that you have to save, you end up crucifying yourself even more than you should. And maybe this is a problem of my generation, when we got very little salary to start with. But I think the structure here is, when you start getting higher salaries, Ajinkya is absolutely right that you shouldn't expand your spending to meet or cross your, and that's a big problem. I see too many people, maybe because I'm in Bangalore, and you end up seeing a lot of people in the south who don't like to spend too much money at all. That too much money flows across generations rather than get spent in that generation itself. And it's a little unfortunate that that happens, because somehow I feel like this Mukesh Ambani spending so much on his wedding, I find it's a good thing, because at least that money is getting spent. Somebody is earning some money somewhere. Yes, you could argue that it is an extravagant spending. You would never do it. It was never your money to begin with. You do what you can, you do to spend, it is his money. He can do what he wants with it. He wants
Very
to,
small part of his pie.
yeah, even if it was a large part of his pay, I'm happy that it's getting spent. And maybe this is because I come from the middle class thought process, which I am struggling to get out of myself.
I've realized this, that 90% people will not be self-aware. they will be driven by the norms of the times. In probably 30 years back, it was save. And it also meant that cutting on even your necessities, right? Like even if you would go to Goa, but even if like it will be like if the hotel is too expensive, you would not take a room, sleep in a car. Today it will be like I want to stay in that hotel, I will swipe my credit card and stay in that hotel. So that's where the narrative is shifting. That's what worries me. Like because once you get into that lifestyle, there is no coming back. It is like and coming to the next point, right? It's if you haven't saved till 30s. I have that problem in another sense that I didn't focus on my health. Now going to a gym is such a tedious task for me. It is very hard.
I can share that with you.
Yeah, right. So it is like you're getting used to driving a car at a fifth gear at 80 and suddenly you're asked to drive it at a 20, 30, khad. It just kills mental happiness.
So I think one question I would have for you over there is that, we've talked about somebody, maybe, somebody who's qualified as a graduate student has that gap where they can upskill themselves, earn more. Let's talk about basic common man, right? Maybe someone who's not that qualified and the possibility of increasing the active income might not be very low. To that person who started saving late, is it a possibility still to achieve certain financial goals which they have?
Will take a lot of time. It's not that it cannot be done, but it is just that the effort, the input-output ratio would be 1:1 or maybe lesser. That your one put of effort will give you only 0.5 ka outcome because the moment you start saving, you say, "Acha, itna hi bacha."
On that note, I think we need to open the floor to questions. I think there'll be some very interesting things that people might want to know on this. So, people from the audience, any?
So my question is a little bit weird, you can say. So let's take an example. I am a frugal spender. I earn like 100 rupees and I save up like 50 rupees. 50 rupees goes in expenses and all that. Now I get married, right?
You get?
I get married.
Okay.
But my partner is not having that same mindset, right? So how do you get the partner on board? Or
You do it before the marriage. That is how this shit works.
Yes.
Honestly.
in arranged marriage?
Hopefully you still talk about it.
Blind marriage थोड़ी होता है.
No, I think an important point there is that the topic of money is so touchy in India,
Yeah.
rather than just the marriage question, which while being funny, I think is very important.
Yep.
No, I would argue marriages break when stuff like this
yeah.
happens. Honestly. So it is a discussion that has to be had as soon as possible.
Well, I'll differ on this. I'll tell you why.
फिर मिलेगी नहीं.
नहीं वो होता नहीं है यार. Your love and feelings and all will overshadow everything else. So the only way to do this is to live through it.
No, but you should know how both of
should
you
know.
think about
Yes,
money.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Get her to watch Wentworth YouTube video.
Hello everyone. My question is not on the timing, but rather on the target itself. Even if you start early, given that the rise in inflation and the taxations, you can never be sure of the target that you have planned, whether you will be hitting that or not. So how do you factor those kind of things in?
I just use higher numbers. The problem with trying to figure out exactly what you need is that the exact numbers will defeat you. If you plan your kids to be sent to Australia, you'll say 30 lakhs a year. But if they chose the US, it is 50 lakhs a year. So plan for the US right from the beginning. If they go to Australia, you've saved some money. Sometimes it's not possible. And you just got to say, well, you guys want to go to US, you take a loan, I'll pay for 30 and deal with it, Because you don't want to ruin your life thinking of, how do I make that extra income? I won't make it. And then I get stressed because I'm not making it. But that's not worth it. You'll die before you get there.
To cue you guys in, at the beginning of the debate, on both the topics, we had taken a poll, saving early versus saving late. And we took the same poll at the end of the debate. So I'll just tell you, and you can see if your opinions have changed certain views in the audience, right?
Pre-debate, 94.1% believe saving early is a better option versus 5.9% said saving late. Post-debate, saving early dropped down to 86.7%, while saving late has gone up to 13.3%.
चलो जीते.
Chota sa.
2x win, 2x.
I think you just compelled a few more future spenders in the audience.
Good for the economy.
Good for the economy. Spend.
So yeah, some very interesting results. And again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Cool.
Living abroad or living in India, which do you think is the better way to achieve financial independence?
We had interviewed one guy who started at a 10 rupee daily job in India, went to Gulf and retired at the age of 40 with 6 crore of corpus.
So did Dhirubhai Ambani.
No, you can't.
No, I'm
You
just.
can't give
I'm just-
example of Dhirubhai. Dhirubhai he could make money.
Dhirubhai
even in hell.
disqualified.
Thank you for watching and supporting our channel. If you like the stories we tell, here's your chance to be a part of it. If you or anybody you know has an interesting financial journey to share, then please fill the form in the pinned comment below and we'll get in touch with you.